All right, let's get started. Let's dive right in. How's everybody? Doing well. Thank you. I'm super excited. I say that probably every week because legitimately, the people who we're able to feature as our guest lecturers, week in, week out, these are legitimate friends of mine and my co-professor, Ms. Sherry's. And so to be able to invite people into our space, to be able to tell their story, to tell their truth, to be authentic, and to be able to really inspire and impact you all, like that's something that brings me and Ms. Sherry great joy. So like when I tell you I'm super excited. Again, we have one of you all in this room who's gonna do the formal introduction of Kevin. I'm gonna share a couple things for sure, but let me actually start with a quick video. There's some special people in this room tonight. I was gonna do that in a little bit, but I'll do it right now. So tonight's class, as you all know, week one, or not week one, that was when we talked about the syllabus. Week two, first speaker, someone who's in the class, like what was the theme that we intersected with career and professional development? What was the theme, the main theme? Anybody? DEIBJ, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and justice, right? So we're examining career and professional development strategy for student athletes, and essentially, how does this other aspect of CPD intersect with CPD? So how does DEI intersect with CPD in that situation? Week three, speaker two, when we had Hannah Gordon, spoke on cultural leadership, organizational leadership, essentially tapping in and figuring out how can we each, in our individual development, personal development, how can we grow into the person we're aspiring to become, right? So now this week, what we're looking to get into is essentially being more than an athlete. You all hear me and other people say that frequently, but what does that really mean? What does it look like? And so that's a huge reason why I'm very excited to be able to have this speaker in. And we all are more than a blank. Ms. Sherry is more than an advisor. Maddie is more than an administrative assistant, right? Travis in the back, he's more than a videographer. I'm more than an associate athletic director, right? We're all more than a blank. And one of my favorite identity pieces for myself, you know, as you think about all of who you are, I'm a former coach, I'm a godfather, I'm somebody's boyfriend, right? I'm also that lady in the back son. And so that is my mother back there. She pulled up from the Bay to come support me in this moment, and I'm super excited about that, of course, as well. And so again, when we talk about identity and we talk about these different layers of these intersectionality, like that's a major component of who I am. It's how proud I am to be her son. I wouldn't be standing in front of this room, in front of you all today, if it weren't for her, if it weren't for her mom, the lineage of educators in my family. I never thought I would be an educator, ever. Like that's not something I aspired to become. And here I am standing in front of a classroom with this opportunity. And so if you all could, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here, so please give it up for my mom. And we got Mr. Trav in the back. Videographer, he was here in our second week, our first speaker. Very grateful to have him back as well. Please give it up for Travis. And now give it up for yourselves, because we're about to go in, like for real. Let's watch this video real quick.
This is a dumb doc alert. NBA superstar LeBron James is talking politics again.
I know you guys are excited to see her. I didn't know you guys would be excited to see me too, but thank you. As much as you guys would love to hear from me, I would much rather love to hear from our next president, Ms. Hillary Clinton.
Now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency.
And this time it's R-rated. Here's his barely intelligible, not to mention ungrammatical take on President Trump in a new ESPN podcast.
The number one job in America, the point of person, is someone who doesn't understand the people and really don't give a f*** the people.
But wait, there's more gripping insight. ESPN host Kerry Champion asked James and fellow NBA star Kevin Durant about what she described as Trump's racist comments.
I feel like our team as a country is not ran by a great coach. It's not even a surprise when he says something. It's not even a surprise. It's like laughable. It's like
It's
that's
laughable.
bad. It's laughable and it's scary.
But it's also scary.
Right,
Because
right.
I shouldn't be numb to your racist
Right,
comments.
right.
I shouldn't be numb to your behavior.
I'm numb to this commentary, like, must they run their mouths like that? Unfortunately, a lot of kids and some adults take these ignorant comments seriously. Look, there might be a cautionary lesson in LeBron for kids. This is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. And it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble. We'll be right back. I'm still trying to get over the fact that Kevin Durant said, I feel like our country is not ran by a great coach. Does that mean I should go for Iran tomorrow?
What does that make anybody think about? What's on your minds?
She's clearly belittling like their opinion because they're athletes.
Clearly belittling their opinion just because they're athletes. Anybody else? There's no wrong answers. What's on your heart? What's on your mind? Any thought that's invoked, any feeling that's invoked.
There's almost a view that like their only characteristic is who they are as an athlete, and that I think the biggest thing that the media, just people in general, have a problem with is that they are human and like they live the same lives that we do. And just obviously they are very talented at what they do.
100%. Maybe one more? Anybody on this side? Yeah.
I think it's like a little bit of a double standard because she's like bashing them for just speaking up about like what they believe, and then she works for Fox News, which is, I don't know, it's a little hypocritical.
Yeah. Right? Hey, Izzy, what if somebody told you to shut up and swing? How would that make you feel? If you were speaking on something that you cared about, something you were passionate about, and someone cut you off, or they made a mockery of you on some media and said, shut up and swing.
It would make me feel like my opinion didn't matter, and like whatever I had to say didn't matter just because I am an athlete, and that like I'm not smart enough to make a comment about something happening.
That's real. That's real. So what I'm gonna do, you all have a piece of paper in front of you now, I think, or it's getting there. We're gonna watch it again. There's some questions in front of you on the top 4 boxes on this table, and would like for you to watch this again and just jot thoughts down as they come to your mind, answering in these different questions. Is there an extra? Are there any extras?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Brett, what do you have in your first box?
The first bullet point is belittling because of an athlete, and then the second point, I just felt anger. I don't know if that was just an emotion,
Sure.
and then a sense of entitlement from the news reporter as well.
Mm-hmm.
Came to mind.
Sam, what about you?
Well, I just said that it's alarming that like this type of person is given a voice, and their opinion is supposed to be valued or like more right than like LeBron James, just because he's paid to do something other than deliver the news.
That's real. Yes.
Yeah, she wasn't even responding to the content of what he was trying to say. Like, he had, you know, some real important points about comments that were racist, and she, like, instead of responding to what he was saying, like, contributed to it more and tried to tear him down for who he is. So that was, yeah, it was upsetting.
That's real. That, I'm getting chills right now. This is the birth of More Than an Athlete. This was the birth of it. right? LeBron took it as fuel and said, you know what, let me not feel belittled even though I might. Let me not feel angry even though I might. Let me actually run with it and let me do what I can with my platform to empower other athletes across the world, no matter what their sport is, no matter what their gender is. Imagine somebody trying to silence you and make fun of you to the world because you want to talk about something other than your job. You know how opinionated I am in life? If somebody made fun of me because I wanted to express myself outside of the realm of college athletics, I would feel belittled. I would feel all these things, right? So continue as you go through this class, continue adding some thoughts and some bullets to that. I'm gonna move on to this next slide. This right here might look a little familiar to somebody.
Never.
And as you listen to this, I want you to look at the bottom 4 boxes on that table on your piece of paper. And again, think about jotting down some notes on that as well. Listen carefully.
Anyone from SC who said anything other than glowing things about you, bro.
I appreciate it. I think that the biggest thing that I can attest to that, aside from my parents, is my special teams coach in college, John Baxter. He would always preach to us like, look guys, your brand is everything. Like, you yourself, you are a corporation and you're the CEO of that corporation. You're the CEO of Kevin Greene Enterprises. So like, whatever you do on and off the field, people are going to take note of it. So while you're here at USC, like capitalize on it, right? One of the quotes he would always say is, with all this success around you, there's no way in the world that you can fail. And that's from all these, big time professors, big time, people that are in academia at SC, like shake their hands, get to know them on a different level. Let them know about, you as the individual, as a person, because they already know you as a football player.
What's that first box on that one? What's that question? Can you read it to me?
How did this video make you feel as an athlete, as a human?
How did it make you feel, Lauren?
I would probably say, sorry, I was answering the 4th question, so I wasn't really.
Let's give us that one. That's cool. How you feel about the 4th one? Say the question out loud.
Well, no, the 4th one of the first one.
Oh, got you.
Sorry.
All right, we'll come back. Preston, when you hear that video, what comes to mind?
The thing that stuck with me the most is what he said, like there's so much success around you that there's no reason to fail.
So much success around you, there's no reason to fail. So you think about, you all are on one of the most resourceful pieces of real estate in the world, a college campus, a university. There's professors here, there's coaches, there's teammates, there's other students, there's faculty, staff, alumni, donors, parents, so many different types of demographics of people who frequent a college campus. That's all what's around you at all times, right? Zoe, what's question number 2 in the bottom box?
What specific things did you hear that highlighted the value of athletes?
What is something that you heard in that highlights the value that an athlete possesses? Want me to come back? What'd you say? Jenna, what about you?
Well, he was like, your brain is everything, and I think that's something that like athletes hold so close to their hearts because there are going to be people that are like, you only got to your school because of your athletic ability, but deep down I know that like I've got a brain and I'm smart. I'm just as smart as anybody else in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that athletes like to hold close to their hearts. It's like, yeah, I am smart. I might have this on the field and this, be able to succeed out there, but I can also succeed in the classroom.
For sure. It's interesting. I'm glad that you shared what you heard. I heard your brand is everything. You heard your brain is everything,
Yeah.
but both of those, I think they go hand in hand with that. I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. Izzy, what's box number 3?
Right, 3 non-athletic successes around you that you hope to leverage.
Can you share one? What's a non-athletic success that's around you in the way that Kevin was speaking to in that video? All these people and resources around you on a college campus. There's so much success around you. You can't fail. What's one of those successes?
don't know if this kind of is right, but like I feel like one thing that like helps me succeed is like Miss Sherry, for example. Like she doesn't want me to fail, like she wants me to do well. So that kind of like helps me like want good for myself and bring myself to success.
Like how could you though? Like how could you fail with Miss Sherry right here in your corner? You know what I'm saying? And imagine when you're struggling, when you're challenging, when the homework assignment is hard or studying is hard, and we might in that moment forget that Miss Sherry is our rock and in our corner. But when you remind yourself of that resource and that success that's around you, how could you fail? Somebody else want to share a success that's around them? Yes.
I'm really tight with one of my English professors.
Okay.
And he's published books already, and I want to publish my book by the end of this year, so I hope to kind of work with him to get networking to be able to do that.
Yeah. Can we get some finger snaps for that? She says she's trying to publish a book by the end of this year. Before we transition on, what's one more success that's around you that you feel like because of its positionality and proximity to you, you can't fail?
I just feel like I think it goes with the second question too, but it's like, as athletes, like we have access to like built-in like mentors basically. And so like, it's just like people that aren't just there for you to like root on your success, and like whether that's teachers or like anyone that's a part of like the athletics program.
Yeah.
Like it's someone that's giving you just like resources to.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you're gonna get to hear a little more from this individual who just spoke right there. I'm not gonna go through all this. I would have had more time with the technical difficulties. If you could take a picture of it, we'll make sure you get the slide. These are some tangible ways though to develop essentially off the court, off the field, out of the pool, out of the whatever your playing surface is, right? I'm just gonna touch on these bolts. Career and professional development, right? That's outside of being an athlete, that's outside of being a student. Look at some of these ways that you can tap into that. You're doing one right now by being in this class. Character and leadership development. We talk about people with quality and solid character, right? Leadership qualities. How do you gain those? Okay, cool, you're in a club or an organization on campus. That's solid in and of itself. But what about maybe the next year when instead of just being a member, what if you're the treasurer, the secretary, the whatever, you're taking on additional leadership experiences? Community engagement. Realize that being a student athlete in college, you are a part of and representing so many communities beyond just the jersey that you wear. The neighborhood community, the LA community, the fact that Inglewood, a city much different than Westchester, is not far from here. That's your community. You have a responsibility to that community. How do you tap into that? How do you learn what that is? And again, develop yourself from your community engagement, community impact, right? As student athletes, broaden your networks beyond your teammates and other athletes. Get to know people outside of that. These are ways that you can literally and tangibly tap into being more than an athlete. In self-care and wellness, which we'll touch on this in one of our weeks ahead, invest time, energy, intentionality, and yes, selfishness into what makes you feel well, what makes you feel good. Be selfish with that. It's your life. And protect your energy and inner peace. Again, I didn't mean to breeze through it, but just in the interest of time. To be a student athlete, to be more than an athlete, to be more than an athlete, you might need to do this right here.
How much more do you want from me?
More.
How much more successful do you want me to be?
More successful.
How many records can my records break?
More records.
But I'm the best.
But are you a different animal and the same beast?
What the does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
You're welcome.
A different animal and the same beast. You all are a student and you're an athlete. Do you show up the same way in both of those spaces? The exact same way? I see you shaking your head. No, talk to me. Why? How?
I feel like when you're out there playing your sport, you have like a different mindset and perspective on things than like you do in the classroom.
Yeah, and it's not better or worse. It's just different. But guess what? It's still you. You're showing up in the classroom. You're showing up in the field, in the pool, in the whatever, right? These are different versions of yourself, AKA different animals, yet coming from the same place, from the same beast, right? So this is a funny, a joke type commercial, but that's real when it comes to being more than an athlete. Because guess what? You're more than a student, you're more than an athlete, you're all these other aspects of your intersectional identity as well. And how do you tend and nurture to those? One way to do that is to realize it's okay to show up differently in different spaces. The way and the person who you are that shows up on the court or the field, you don't have to show up that same way in the classroom. You don't have to show up that same way as somebody's niece or nephew or community servant or whatever. Allow yourself the diversity and the variety in your personality and how you show up. And there's a lot of beauty in that. That brings us here. This is my guy. When I tell you, like, we met a long time ago. We met a long time ago. And this is somebody who, when I say like my guy, when we talk, when we hop on the phone, when we text each other, probably not the most first thing that we're doing, because that's whatever it is we're talking about. Before we get off the phone, he's saying, hey, how's your mom? How's your sister? Am I lying?
All the time. All the time.
That's somebody who checks in on family. That's somebody who understands there's more to it than it. There's more to it than life. There's more to life than what we're doing right now, right? It's bigger than that. So we have somebody who's going to share a little bit of an introduction about Kevin, but I just want to touch on these right here. Everybody write down multi-hyphenate, M-U-L-T-I, M-U-L-T-I, H-Y-P-H-E-N-A-T-E, the multi-hyphenate. Those two words, it's multiple hyphens, right? So when we see somebody who is founder dash, CEO dash, author dash, that's multi-hyphenate. You all have a hyphen in a very near and dear title to you. Student athlete, there's a hyphen in that. And there's other aspects of who you are too. So the multi-hyphenate. In my opinion, Kevin Greene is a quintessential example of a multi-hyphenate individual. He's more than an athlete. And I think that in order to be that, you need to understand how to diversify oneself, how to invest oneself, how to prepare to pivot, and also learn how to transition. I guarantee you take a career and professional development class outside of this class, they're not talking about that. So I hope that you all, I'm not saying that to flex or to brag, I'm saying that because me and Miss Sherry, we really care about the creative aspect of this and really making this relevant to you all in 2023 and beyond. I'm gonna end on this before I bring up Brett. Who is this? Tell me something about Groot. What happens when Groot gets hurt? He grows back, he regrows, right? I brought this for a reason because when I think about Groot, when I think about becoming the best version of myself, when I think about challenges that I go through that really feel like it really bent me, but didn't break me, I figure out, how do you rebuild yourself? How do you show up as maybe a new version in these different spaces? Because to be honest with you, life is gonna bend you, it is gonna test you, but how do you make sure it doesn't break you? How do you realize that you can always bet on yourself and you're gonna bounce back regardless? And that's what we're really here to learn about today. Brett, let's get it going. Sure. So Brett Zimmerman is gonna come up here and give an introduction to our guest lecturer, and he's gonna take it away.
Thank you, Bobby. All right, so today we have a really special guest by the name of Kevin Greene from Oakland, just like Bobby. And Bobby was actually talking to me today. He said, you know, you were the same size since 7th grade, so, you know, maybe be different. He went to USC not once but twice, liked it so much there, he decided to go back. And 4 seasons in the NFL with the 49ers and the Tennessee Titans. He's a mental health advocator and enjoys riding his Peloton. His main goal is to bridge the gap between professional sports, student athletes, and the corporate world. Oh, I'll grab my microphone. If I have to restart. Just skim through it. All right. How do I do that?
Just go from where you are. You're good.
Oh, okay. yeah, and so his main goal today is, to bridge that gap and talk to us today. So thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. All right. That was a good intro, man. Yeah, you actually made me sound a lot better. All right, how's everybody doing today, huh? All right, so I'm doing well, thank you. I have not stepped foot in a classroom like this in a hell of a long time. All right, so this is bringing back a lot of memories from SC. I'm assuming everybody in here is a student athlete of some capacity? What kind of sports do we have out here? Rapid fire, just yell your sport out. Swimming, baseball, softball, track. Did I hear karate? Somebody say karate? No? Okay. Well, good. And are most of you beginning, middle, or at the end of your college career? Yell it out. Okay, so a lot of diversity. All right. So Bobby and I, like he said, he and I have known each other for an extremely long time. I've known Bobby since I was in the 5th grade, right? Now, mind you, I've also been this height since the 5th grade, okay? So Bobby being 2 years older than me, we would always see each other, at recess back then, right? That's what you call it, recess or at lunch and stuff like that. And people would always mistake me to be another teacher or to be, in some of the older grades, but I was just a younger guy. I wish I would have brought the picture of me, my 6th grade basketball team, where I was about this tall and everybody was up to my hip, But, Bobby and I have really been trying to find some time for me to come and just spread some wisdom, get to know his class a little bit, kind of distill a little bit of knowledge, right? And when I had the opportunity to come and speak to you guys, I got really excited because I love the intimacy of this class, right? I love how small it is. I feel like we can definitely be real, and I feel like we can definitely engage. One of the things that I'm extremely passionate about is bringing the best out of yourselves, especially when it comes to student athletes, because I was one, right? Because Bobby was one, because my buddy Randall back there was one, right? And everything that you guys are going through, I've gone through. Now, there may be differences with that, right? Because it's a different time, different sports, different responsibilities given the schools, right? But the aspect of coming in here, bringing your lunch, being tired as shit, not really wanting to be here, but having to be here because you have to pass, that was all me. That was all me at some point in time. So I get it. Now, when thinking about what I want to talk to you guys about, I didn't have anything really mapped out, or I didn't have, a list of topics I want to talk about. I figured I could just kind of tell my story and be able to kind of guide through there, all right? So, what's your name again, brother? Brett. You didn't have your name tag. Okay, Megan, and that's Brett. Okay, I got you. Born and raised in Oakland, California. I'm the eldest of 3, all right? I've always been involved within athletics. And like I said, I've been this height since forever. I always played basketball. Basketball was my first love, all right? Big Kev was the nickname that was given to me as a 5th grader, all right? And mentally, I always lived up to that, right? Because I was bigger than everybody else. I was able to handle myself a lot more maturely than my counterparts. And because of my family situation, my dad had MS growing up, multiple sclerosis. Anybody heard of it? So with me being the eldest of 3, I was the one that had to carry a lot of the physical responsibilities with taking care of my dad. So due to that, I was always more mentally mature than a lot of my teammates, classmates, peers, what have you, all right? So growing up being involved in sports, like I said, basketball was my bread and butter. I attended, do we have anybody from the Bay Area in here, by the way? Where you from? Marin County? East Bay? Palo Alto, okay. Has anybody heard of Sacred Heart Cathedral? Fighting Irish? Yes, that's me. That's where I went to high school. I went there to play basketball, right? But at the same time, what I realized was during my time there that there was going to be more of an opportunity for me to go to college by playing football. So I go to Sacred Heart, living in Oakland, catching the BART, as I'm sure you guys are aware of, catching BART every single day at a new private Catholic high school, not knowing anybody, knowing that I'm there for basketball, knowing that I'm there to live up to the name Big Kev, right? That ego that I've carried into it. And I realized that midway through that basketball was not gonna be my bread and butter. Now mind you, I'm 6'4", right? I'm about 1 inch taller than Steph Curry, right? I have 0 jump shot. I cannot hit the side of the house, right, if I were to shoot. So due to that, I'm 6'4" playing the post. I'm playing power forward. I'm playing Shaquille O'Neal's position. And I realized that pivoting, transitioning my sport would help out. It would put me in a better position to succeed, right? And making that decision was football. So playing football at Sacred Heart, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of success, and that ego that I talked about earlier was continuing to be fed, right? I had the opportunity to play in college at USC. There were a lot of schools that were recruiting me, but because I felt that USC was the right place for me because of that ego that I had, I felt that USC would put me in the best position to either play in the NFL or graduate, right? Now, who in here thinks that I'm probably giving it away a little bit, but who in here thinks that I had a marvelous career at SC? I appreciate the credit, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The rest of y'all, cold as ice. Cold as fucking ice, all right? Excuse my language, Mom. I'm just trying to be real. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at USC, right? So here you have a young kid that has played basketball his whole life, made a decision to play football as a junior, pretty much ran all of Northern California, ran the table by playing football, and gets recruited to go to USC. Now, I know a lot of you guys are a hell of a lot younger than me, but USC used to be the pinnacle of college football, all right? Randall back there, he and I played together at USC. So he knows. Things were a lot different when we were there, but hopefully we're getting back to that. But anyways, you have all these things, and I go to USC, and I get faced with the harsh reality of being the big fish in a small pond to being the small fish in the ocean, right? My experience at USC from an athletic standpoint was probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life, okay? You go from being the top defensive player in Northern California. You go from being somebody that every single school on the West Coast wants you, right? Especially Colorado before Deion got there. And then you go to a school like USC where the coaches are promising you, like, look, Kev, you're gonna be a starter. This is gonna happen. You're gonna be able to do this for your parents. You're gonna be able to do that for your siblings. And then you go there and I'm sitting the fucking bench, right? I'm sitting the bench. Now, why am I sitting the bench? A lot of factors go into it. One, I didn't realize how difficult the game of football was for me to grasp, right? There's a lot of physicalities that go into the sport of football, which I had a very hard time grasping. I wasn't a very physical guy. I was playing defensive end, outside linebacker in college. I was bigger than everybody. I can just smash anybody that I want out there on the field. But in college, I have guys that are my size playing wide receiver, running back. So the aspect of being physical out there on the field was something that took me a very long time to grasp. And that ego that I talked about, that ego that built me to go to USC, that ego that got me all of my accolades in high school was all the way down here, all right? So I had to pivot my mentality, right? I had to tell myself, all right, everybody calls me KG, by the way. So I had to say, all right, KG, look, you're at USC, everybody back home is cheering for you, but at the same time, everybody is like, when are you gonna play? Hey, Kev, when you come up to Cal, when you come to Stanford, can you save us some tickets? I'm like, sure, because nobody's coming to watch me. I mean, you can come watch me play, but you know, you're gonna see me warm up, so there's no point of you coming to check me out. And to be honest with you, going through that adversity was probably one of the most toughest things I've ever had to deal with, right? Because like I said, that ego is plummeting. So having the mindset of, all right, Kev, this is what you're faced with. How can you make something of this, right? Every single day during practice, I told myself, Kev, keep getting better. Keep practicing, keep working on your craft, keep doing the right thing every single day. Because if you do the right thing every single day, it's going to pay off for you, okay? If you do the right thing every single day, it's going to pay off. That payoff for me came in the form of the NFL, all right? Who thinks I got drafted in the first round? That's my boy. Who thinks I got drafted, period? Did not get drafted. I appreciate you guys, thank you. I went undrafted, okay? 5 years at USC, graduated, got my master's, wanted to figure out what was next, right? Got an agent, got the training, doing everything like that. The draft is 7 rounds for the NFL. I knew there was no shot of me making the first 5, right? But 6 or 7, maybe, just on my athletic ability, maybe somebody might call me. That phone call did not ring. It did not come about. Now, after it did, all right? Now, my journey to the NFL was damn near just as hard as it was for me in college, all right? My first opportunity in the NFL came through the Oakland Raiders before they moved to Vegas. I was invited to their rookie training camp, and what that is just a bunch of rookies, a bunch of guys that are sophomore players in the league that are just trying to be picked up, right? That are trying out for the Raiders. There's about 70 of us there. I didn't realize that they only keep 1 or 2. I didn't realize that. So they're like, Kevin, look, we like how you tested at the, what is it? Not the combine, the pro day. Kevin, we like what you did the pro day, and we want to have you come out to our rookie mini camp, all right? But we want you to play defensive end. Now, mind you, I played defense all throughout my time at USC, but my last year, I played tight end. So my 5th year, I'm playing offense. I forgot to mention that earlier. My apologies. So I'm like, all right, coach, sure, no problem. You know, I haven't put my hand in the dirt to play defensive in a very long time. How can I match up? So I go through about 4 days of rookie minicamp, do not get signed, right? Right after that, my agent calls me again. He says, Kevin, look, the 49ers want you to come to their rookie minicamp, but they want you to play tight end. Great. Let me go out there. Let me see what I can do. That ended up working out for me. I ended up getting signed by the Niners on the last day. John Harbaugh, who's the head coach of Michigan, actually said, look, you know, we can only keep 2 guys out of the 50 that we invited, right? We're going to, who do you say? There was a guy named Chase Thompson, who was a linebacker at Stanford, and we're going to keep Kevin Perry, right? Back in my mind, I'm like, who the fuck is Kevin Perry? Everybody's looking around, who is Kevin Perry? Oh, Kevin Greene. Sorry, Kevin Greene. Kevin Greene. Sorry, Kev. Now, mind you, hearing my name being called by Coach Harbaugh saying, hey, we're going to keep you, was a dream come true, right? One of the things that was starting to build up for me as I was having these trial and errors with these NFL tryouts was like, look, Kev, all of your guys are getting picked up. Everybody's getting signed. Everybody's on a team. Kev, you're the only one that hasn't signed yet. Like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on? So now when he called my name, I felt like I was under this umbrella. Now I'm good. Now I'm safe. Now I'm in the NFL. Now I'm one of the guys, right? Now that ego is something that I can start building back up, that confidence, all right? It was extremely hard for me in the NFL. Not from the standpoint of me not being able to grasp the game or being physical or things like that. I didn't understand the business side of it. I didn't understand that it's like, hey, Kev, we love you, we're gonna sign you, but check this out, in 2 weeks, something may happen that is out of your control and we may have to cut you. Now that didn't happen for me, all right? I was able to squeeze out 4 years, but I've seen guys go through the exact same thing that I went through at USC and have an NFL career of 2 weeks. Randall could say the same thing because Randall played for the Cleveland Browns. He's seen the exact same thing. Some guys play for 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 years, or if you're Tom Brady, you play for forever, right? So realizing that aspect, I'm like scratching and clawing to get my way once again into the NFL and to stay in the NFL. I played 4 years and I felt like it was time for me to pivot, to transition, right? Who knows what the NFL stands for in this classroom? Come on, wrong answers only. That's wrong. Not for long. Not for long. Not for long. Randall knew that one. Not for long. NFL stands for not for long. All right? So, like I said, some guys' career can be 4 years, 6 years, 10 years. Mine was only 4. And I decided to walk away from the game because, one, I wanted to get started on my post-football career early before I hit the age of 30. I think I was 26 at the time, within my 4th year. And then also, just going back from team to team, seeing the business side of it, seeing guys get cut, seeing guys have kids as rookies, and then getting cut and being like, what the fuck, how am I gonna provide for my family? Like, that's a tough thing. Regardless of the millions that you guys see some guys making, that's not what it looks like behind closed doors in the NFL, all right? So being from the Bay Area, I was asking myself, all right, Kev, what is a secondary career that you can get into? Tech. Tech is something that I was very passionate in. That's what I got my master's in while I was at USC. And one of the biggest things that kind of made me want to do that is not from the aspect of being from the Bay and being passionate in the field, but it's more so knowing that there's not a lot of people who look like me that are in that field, right? Not a lot of black men, there's not a lot of ex-NFL players, there's a lot of college athletes, right? But there's nobody that made it to the professional level within their respective sport that I did that can say, look, I work at X company, I work at that company. So I knew that was going to be something that could make me stand out. But the biggest, most important reason was building that bridge, as you said earlier, right? Building that bridge of connectivity for student athletes and also ex-professional athletes to let them know, like, hey, when you're done playing, you don't have to fucking work at Enterprise. Because we all see the commercials, right? We all see the Enterprise commercials, right? You don't have to be a coach. You don't have to be a trainer. Those aspects are great jobs, but that's not something that I wanted to do. Because as we talked about in the videos, I felt like it made you very one-dimensional, right? You play, what sport here?
Baseball.
Of course you play baseball, right? And once you're done, what's something that people would think that you would do?
Probably become a baseball coach.
Exactly, become a baseball coach, right? You play softball, right? After you're done kicking ass here, going to the Team USA, I don't know if there's something overseas, but like once you're done, what would somebody imagine you to go into? Coaching or training. And those are great fields. But that may not be something you're passionate in. It may not be something you want to do. You might want to define yourself as somebody that's different than a softball player, than a baseball player, right? Than a rower, things like that. So my first career after I was done was working at Salesforce. Who's heard of Salesforce? Doing sales, being a sales development rep, building my secondary brand within tech, and just kind of climbing up the ranks from there. After my time at Salesforce, I went on to Google, all right? And I was at Google for about 1.5 years, all right? Now, the hardest thing that I'm going through now was realizing that Google one day just wanted to lay off half the company. Half the company. And OKG was a part of that layoff, unfortunately, right? So adversity strikes again, as it constantly does, right? It striked while I was at USC. It striked while I was in the NFL being undrafted. And it striked again in my secondary career, right? So how are you going to pivot? Are you going to let what's going on define you, or are you just going to fold, okay? So where I'm at now within my career is just doing a lot of public speaking events, coming in to do guest lecturing, but at the same time, finding ways to continue to motivate student athletes, because that's what I'm passionate in. And I really feel like there is not a lot of people who are sitting in you guys' position, who are dealing with the things that you guys deal with, that know how to get out of it. Because it's freaking hard to come to this class, listen to Bobby talk for 6 hours, because we all know B is passionate about what he talks about, okay? And then go home, study, wake up early for practice, wake up early for weights, and then be able to do it all over again. Like, that is something that not a lot of people can do. You guys have all been to Trader Joe's, you guys have all been to Safeway. Everybody you see in the grocery store, they can't do what you guys do. They cannot. They cannot, because they are not built the way that you guys are built. They're not built the way that I'm built. They're not built how Randall's built, right? So while you're sitting in these chairs, right, and like we talk about pivoting, diversity, we talk about transitioning out, like, understand that it's not as scary as you may think. It's not as scary as you may think, right? It's only scary if you're blind to it, okay? It's only scary if you're blind to it. While you guys are sitting in this position right now, think about that. Like, shit, I might be done rowing at LMU, you know, if I'm a senior in the next 6 weeks. I might not want to be a professional rower. I might be done with basketball in the next, after the season's over with. Start thinking about that so that you can prepare yourself. And when I say prepare yourself, that doesn't mean have a resume built up and start doing these job shadows and internships. No, start thinking about what it's like to separate yourself from that identity. Okay, separating yourselves from that identity. And for some people, it can take a long time. For some people, it can take a couple weeks. In the NFL, Randall can tell you, it's extremely hard to separate yourself from that identity. Extremely hard. You know, there's some days, I got you, there's some days where I'm still trying to do it, where he's trying to do it, where a lot of our teammates from USC are still trying to do it. Some are taking it worse than others. But while you guys are here, you know, utilize what you have. Utilize what you have, prepare yourself for that transition out, because it's gonna come and it's not gonna be as bad as you guys think, because you guys go to fucking LMU. You serious? Like, you know how blessed you guys are to be here? It's huge. It's huge. You guys are going to graduate, and people are going to look at, and this is no shade at any other degree. All right, they're going to see Cal State East Bay, they're going to see LMU. Which one do you think they're going to go with, right? Unless it's me in the room and it's, Kevin Greene or LMU, it's like, oh, come on, KG, we want you. I'm kidding, I'm joking. But, I didn't want to take too much of your time. What I really want to do is just make this as intimate as I can and just engage with you guys, right? I didn't have a bunch of bullet points and everything like that. I just want to tell my story. You guys take what you can from it, and let's engage and have conversation about that. I saw you had a question, Sam.
Yeah, when you, like, I don't know, when you were growing up, like, I'm sure, like, you had a dream of playing, like, professional sports and, like, achieving that, and, like, when you got there and you went through all that adversity, and then you, like you said, like, kind of, like, didn't really, like, fully understand or, like, realize, like, the business, like, aspect of it.
Yeah.
Was it, like, when you, like, one, like, how did you realize that? But two, like, just, like, how did it make you feel? Because, like, obviously, like, I like many people have dreams of, like, playing professionally. Like, but I've also heard a lot of people that, like, it's so much different than what you might have expected, like, when you were growing up. So, like, how did it make you feel, like, when that stuff sort of started to, like, sink in?
Well, I think it was a dream come true to be able to be paid to play, right? I mean, now you guys got it good. You guys can get paid in college. It wasn't like that when me and Randall were in college. But the dream of being paid to play my sport was something that I dreamt of my whole life. But at the same time, I didn't know if it was going to be NBA or the NFL. All right, the actuality of it becoming the NFL, man, that shit didn't come around until my 5th year in college. I mean, during my time at USC, I was like, Kev, I don't think the NFL is going to work out for you just because of your position at USC, right? But it didn't end up happening until, like, my last couple weeks at USC as a 5th year senior. It was like, okay, I think I could see the NFL at the end of life. That might be a possibility for you. Getting into the business side of it, yeah, it was extremely scary because I didn't realize how short a career could be. At USC, guys would come back and say, look, NFL means not for long. But I didn't know that it was that short. I didn't know that you can spend your whole life working your butt off for the sport, go to college to play that sport under scholarship, right? Have a chance to train heading up to said training camp or to Olympic tryout or things like that. And then for you to go there and then for them to say, thanks, but we're gonna go in a different direction. And then that's it, just like that. At the blink of an eye, your whole dream of being a pro is over off of one handshake. And sometimes it's completely out of your control, right? And some people break from that. So when I saw that aspect, I said, man, Kev, this shit is real. So do what you have to do to stay here as long as you can. Because, at the end of the day, even though somebody else is gonna make the decision whether or not you're gonna be on the team or be cut, there's a lot that you can control into that.
So you talked about kind of preparing yourself and separating yourself from one's identity as an athlete. How did you see being in college, guys that you knew like weren't going to go pro?
Yeah.
What did they do to separate themselves in college, and how can we as like student athletes separate ourselves? What are good ways to get ourselves involved?
Yeah, I think that it is. I'm not sure how you guys' schedule works. I know for us during the summer, we stay at SC, we work out. We don't really have a break. So I know a lot of my other athlete peers, they had the opportunity to do job shadows and do internships during the summer. I would say those are things that you can do to separate yourself, just to get an understanding of like, okay, what is it like to interview, right? What is it like to have a job just for a couple weeks, to see what it's like to have a different responsibility than this for a couple weeks, right? The guys who were trying to separate themselves from that athlete name, a lot of them would fall into those internships, those job shadows, because they were setting themselves up for success, because they understood that, look, the NFL may not be something that's going to be in my future. So what can I do now to set myself up, right? The biggest thing that I regret is not doing that, is not having job shadows, not doing the internships. I understand that my time was very small during the summer, but there were ways that I could have made that happen, right? And it's a regret. We all live with them. I don't think it bit me in the butt, by not doing it, but at the same time, I think that it could have prepared me a little bit more when it was my time to transition out. Yeah. What are some of the things that a lot of you, and please, I'm not going to call on anybody, so please just kind of give out an answer, be respectful of each other. What are some of the things that you guys are thinking about once you do graduate, right? Once your collegiate career is over, what are some of the things that you guys are nervous about, scared about, that unknown? What are some of the things you guys think about?
I'm a international student.
Okay.
So I'm on a student visa. And personally, I've kind of been like in between like going into finance or doing golf.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know what it looks like for me leaving school and then with my visa and everything.
Yeah. Getting that visa approved is tough, man. That's a whole ordeal. We had a bunch of people at SC that are doing the exact same thing. Rowers, swimmers, women's water polo. Every single time it would come for that visa renewal, they were like, I don't know. So when you think about that, right, do you think it's that you're missing out on opportunity if you don't get it approved? Like the same resources and opportunity that you have here, if it doesn't get approved and you have to go back to Mexico, that you're not going to have that same opportunity or resources?
Yes.
Got you. So with thinking about that, right, and now that you're voicing it out, which I appreciate, man, what are some of the things that you think, and I don't know the answer, right? This is your answer, right? Because this is your story. What are some of the things you think, and you don't have to answer this verbally, right? Think about some of the things you can do to set yourself up to when that time may come. It may get approved, it may not. What can you do to make sure that the conversations that you have, the questions that you need to ask, that you can do to set yourself up when you got to go back home to where there's not too big of a lag in between, right? So yeah, but I got my fingers crossed for you, man.
Hey, one thing I'll say real quick on that is the industry that he transitioned into, being business development and sales, but particularly in tech, it's really those industries who have the bag, who have the financial resources. They oftentimes are those industries and jobs who can afford essentially to pick that up for you, right, that visa. And so it doesn't, I'm not saying go to an industry that you don't want to be into, but in my time of working with student athletes for the last 7-8 years, student athletes who I've seen who've been able to essentially secure that visa has been financial institutions like on Wall Street and big tech companies, more than any others, right? Because they just have just crazy money.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could even, can you speak to just a second, like what
Yeah.
that bag looks like in tech?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
'Cause that's a lot different than college athletics, right, Shed?
Yeah. I think when it comes to picking up your visa and making sure that you don't have to go through, that whole headache of trying to get it approved and trying to stay here. A lot of companies, when you apply, they'll ask you, do you need assistance with working here, right? Can you work here in the U.S.? And it's a yes or no question. And the yes or no doesn't mean that, okay, well, we're not going to call on Alejandro, right? What that means is like, okay, we're going to have to assist him. I mean, you would be shocked how many people that worked at Google that were not citizens, whose visa continuously gets renewed from the company because they have that power, right? Because they're contributing in a way that somebody who is not contributing. So it goes a very long way. Ms. Jenna.
For me, so I graduate in the spring.
Okay.
I'm a senior.
Okay.
From the time I graduated high school, it was like, okay, this is my plan. I'm going to have 4 seasons. I'm going to be in college for 4 years. It's going to be great. And I've always had a plan. I'm a big planner.
Yeah.
But I'm graduating and I don't have a set plan anymore. It's like, okay, like I think I'm going to go into this.
Right.
So I think that part of it is just a little scary naturally. I don't know if I'm going to go play abroad, but like as of right now, I don't think I'm going to.
Yeah.
Just not having a plan, I think, is kind of the thing that gets me a little stuck
Yeah,
sometimes.
and Jenna, to be honest with you, it's okay if you don't have one, right? Like, yes, I'm telling you guys, to make sure you kind of set yourself up, but if you don't have that plan, it's like, it's fine. I mean, Jenna, what you gotta understand is you've worked your ass off your whole life to get here, and you worked your whole ass off here while you're here, and now it's like, look, I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I don't know if I want to keep doing something else, right? But that unknown is extremely scary because you've put so much time and effort into what sport?
Softball.
Into softball. Of course, you got to sit next to each other. Into softball, So thinking about like, do I want to continue this journey, or thinking about like, look, I think I want to pivot onto something else and hang my cleats up. That's the real thing. And if you don't have that plan, it's all right, Jenna. You know, like there's no pressure. Nobody's going to be looking at you the day after you graduate like, look, you need a job. Like, you know, I mean, I think that you've had enough conversations with people like Bobby, with your teammates, with your coach, you know, hearing talks like this to where it's like, okay, well, you know, I know that I just don't want to bullshit as soon as I'm done, but it's okay if I have a couple months or even a year or even a year and a half where I'm trying to figure that out. Because how old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20.
21.
21, there we go. But so you spent the last, you know, 16, 17 years or whatever playing one sport. And now it's like that sport might come to an end. So if you need a year and a half or 2 years or whatever to figure out what's next, that's fine. You know, not everything has to be scripted. I mean, shit, I thought I was going to the NBA. I thought I was going to get a Division I scholarship playing basketball. I stopped growing at 6'4" and couldn't develop a jump shot or right hand, you know, so I had to pivot. Yeah, no problem. How about you, Ms. Lauren? You're on the rowing team here?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you think about once you're done here and what year are you?
I'm a transfer junior.
Okay, so you have about, so you got another year left after this one. What are some of the things that, you know, kind of haunt you in your sleep when it comes to transitioning out or when it's done?
I mean, I'm honestly not sure, like, so when I graduated high school, I took a gap year.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking back at that, I was just really scared to take that gap year because all my friends were going to school, but also society just makes you think that you have to go to school.
Yes.
Just straight after high school. But I'm so glad looking back that I took that gap year. And now thinking at my future that I still don't know what I want to do, so I could take another gap year and not like follow the society path.
I think you should. I mean, you know, obviously the right answer that I'd give you is do what's best for you, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it worked for you last time. And I guarantee it's gonna work for you again because you get a chance to step back. And yes, that's very true. When it comes to being a student athlete, society makes so many rules for us to follow that if we don't follow said rule, then we're looked on as failure, as somebody that didn't follow through, as somebody that's weak, as somebody that's not tough enough, right? And that's the other part that people don't talk about when it comes to people like us, student athletes, ex-student athlete, right? Those pressures that you deal with are a real thing. I don't care if you're playing softball, rowing, basketball, baseball, fucking golf. I don't care if you play darts, right? There's a pressure within your respective sport that follows it that people are not going to be able to understand. And that's why you have to have these talks with your peers within different sports because we all go through the exact same thing in different capacities. We all have different responsibilities, right? My man might have to go back to Mexico. Like that's fucking scary when you think about it, right? I mean, I don't know, you've been here, what, 4 years now?
No, my family got another type of visa before, so I lived in Texas for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I went to sports academy 1 year, so.
Well, everybody knows Alejandro, right? Everybody knows Alejandro in this class, right? There might be a time where Alejandro has to go back home, you might not see him because he couldn't get his visa, right? And he's trying to stick it out here through his sport. And if that doesn't happen, it's like, shit, now I have to pivot. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Of course.
Like, when you were transitioning into like going from NFL and picking like your job and career, like for me, like I'm kind of like Jenna, like I like to plan everything out, and I don't really like, I know what I want to do, but like what did you do to like reassure yourself that you were like choosing like the right career path for yourself?
Having conversations with people that are in that career. Having conversations with people that are in that career, right? And it doesn't matter if I know that I want to go into finance or if I want to be a fireman or an astronaut, right? Maybe I'm not all the way sure about that, but I'm going to find somebody that's in that career and ask them questions about that because it may keep me going, it may keep me interested, or it may kind of veer me off. So having those conversations, all right? Like just talking to somebody about that. Never hold back from knocking on somebody's door saying, hey, this is the position I'm in. This is where I'm thinking about going. I have some questions and I need a little bit of help. All right? Do not be afraid to do that because I guarantee you through one conversation, it can change a lot for you.
Yeah, I had a question similar to what some people said, but how did you deal with the kind of uncertainty at various points in your athletic career and afterwards figuring out kind of professional life, knowing that like there's something that matters a whole lot to you that's like hanging over your head and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think when it came to dealing with that uncertainty, I asked myself, how can I bring the exact same value that I brought on the football field in a different field, right? I knew that I brought a lot of value by being a defensive end or being a tight end, but where can I bring that, have that same confidence, right? Bring that same energy every single day in a different field, and that's how I took it when I first got to Salesforce. Right, I knew that, okay, Kev, there's not a lot of people that, were a college athlete that are walking around here. So, you have to understand the value that you bring to this company. A lot of these managers and people that have never touched a ball a day in their life or never done a push-up a day in their life, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna say, oh my God, like what was it at LMU? Like what kept you there? Like how'd you do it, right? And then by them putting you on that athlete pedestal, it makes you kind of feel good about yourself. It's like, all right, well, you know what? This is how I'm getting out of that transition because I'm bringing a lot of the value that I had at my sport into something else, and I'm really fucking good at it. I was really good at LMU doing track and field, and now I'm really good at this other company doing this because of the things that I learned at LMU and the things that I learned from being a student athlete.
I feel like every sport like has a stereotype that follows it, and I also row, so it's just like all about scandals, and it's like we all have daddy's money, which is not true. How do you kind of like separate yourself from the stereotypes once you hit the workforce? Because like people find out I row, and that's the only thing they want to talk about because it's not necessarily in the limelight like football.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to that stereotype, understand that there's nobody else who you work with that has a stereotype like that following them because they were not an athlete, right? Something that I would always tell myself walking through the halls is like, you know what? Yeah, I'm sitting here at the computer, but I'm faster than every fucking person in this thing. Like sometimes I would I would talk to my manager and I would just say in my mind, if the zombies came back, I would make it out of here way quicker than you would because you're not built like me, But when it comes to those stereotypes, I mean, it's gonna follow you, right? The biggest thing with football players, is that we make a shit ton of money, we blow it all, and we're broke after. A little bit of that true, some of that's true, but at the same time, it's on you to redefine the stereotype that is formed against you, which is out of your control, right? The aspect of like rowers come from daddy's money and it's a rich person's sport. It's like, no, fuck that. It's not. Like this shit is expensive. I had to get grants to be able to row here, right? I had to scratch and claw to do said sport. So when it comes to those stereotypes, like it's gonna follow you, it is what it is, but at the same time, know that they're putting that against you because they can't do what you are able to do, okay? And that's get from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake like that, all right? Any other questions?
You said that before you kind of dealt with like doubts about being like coming into USC and like not feeling like you're the best. Like how do you deal with those like emotions of feeling like you're not good enough to be where you are?
Well, that's the thing. You have to understand that you are good enough and that you play. I mean, you go to LMU and you play a sport for a reason because you're so much better at a rower, at being a rower than anybody else. I mean, not everybody can go to college to play softball, be on this track team, row, swim. Like, not everybody can do that. I said the same thing at Trader Joe's or Safeway. They can't do what you guys can do. So when it comes to having those doubts, understand that you're here for a reason and that the coaches see something in you that you see, which is the reason why you're here. I mean, they can get any asshole off the street and be like, do you want to be on the rower team? Oh, yeah, sure. But they're going to suck at it, right? Because they didn't put the hours into the sport that you did. So understand that, yeah, like you may go through those thoughts of you not stacking up the way you want to stack up to your peers, but that's because your peers are there for a reason, right? And you and your peers are one of the best.
I think one of the biggest issues that's like plaguing athletes right now is obviously mental health.
Yes.
And there's multiple athletes that have sadly committed suicide
Mhm.
at the collegiate level.
We got a couple teammates ourselves from college that did that.
And just wondering how you've gone about it in terms of mental health for a student athlete and what you kind of recommend.
So clearly, everybody in this room, you guys just don't do your sport 24/7, right? Just yell it out. What are some of the things you guys do to walk away from your sport when you go home? Gaming, you guys played flute, You guys what? You know, arm wrestle random people at the store? Like, you know, what are some things you guys do to get to walk away from your sport? Bake? Roommate movie night? Sleep? Podcast, okay. How about you? Listen to music? How about you two? What are some things you guys do to get away from your sport? Watch TV? How about you, man?
I'm in like a service org and just hanging out with friends. Even playing other sports, honestly, it really helps.
So all those things that you guys listed and some people did not list. Natalie, what do you do to walk away from your sport?
So actually, I became a student athlete this year and
Okay.
I'm a sophomore.
Okay.
So I like had my freshman year experience like not being a student athlete.
There we go.
I think when I'm like in this crazy like schedules of like swimming and practice and weights, I like have my friends from last year who like I can just
Yes, that's perfect.
share all that.
Now everything you guys listed, like that's an outlet. That's an outlet. And how you deal with mental health with being an athlete is leaning into that outlet as hard as you possibly can, because it is tough sitting in you guys' chair. All right, I've said that numerous times tonight. It is tough sitting in you guys' chair. So whatever you guys do to kind of woosah, lean into that and make sure you do not miss those opportunities when they come for you guys to woosah. All right, everybody handles things differently, but I will say that, you know, as I said earlier in the video, with all this success around you, there's no way that you guys can fail, all right? And that success does not mean coming up to Bobby. That success does not mean to coming up to these professors. That success of not failing could be just kind of chilling, listening to podcasts, listening to music, roommate movie night, arm wrestling random people, whatever gives you mental clarity, right? Whatever gives you mental clarity, whatever lets you kind of just breathe and step away from having your athletic responsibilities, do that. I cannot stress that enough. So whatever it is, find it, hold on to it, and don't give it up. Do not. Last question.
So earlier you were talking about ego.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of a connotation being like a dangerous thing. But you really talk about like being a tool in a way. But like ego always like inflates and deflates throughout your life. So I guess like how do you specifically use like your ego, your confidence in a way, and like I guess can you talk more about that?
Yeah, no, of course. Your ego, your confidence, whatever, you know, whatever word you want to give it is the reason why you guys are here. It's the reason why you guys have accomplished so many things. It's the reason why you guys' grades are so fucking good. It's the reason why you guys are doing so well in school and you guys are here. That's that confidence, that's that ego. Never lose that as an athlete, because that is what's going to separate you from your teammates or from the competition, right? But at the same time, you guys control that ego. You guys control it. You can have it all the way through the clouds and be able to back the shit up, or you can have it all the way in the clouds and have your foot up your ass when it comes time to perform, right? So when it comes to dealing with that, understand your ego is the reason why you are so successful in your sport. But then you control it. And you control it by how much time, effort, and how hard you work into your craft to make sure that your ego backs up everything that backs up the way that you define it. What's your name?
Preston.
Preston?
Yes, sir.
So when you step out on what, the fields, pool, tracks, when you step out on the track, what competition?
Like mid-distance.
Mid-distance.
Is that what you're asking? Or?
Yeah, what competition?
Yeah, like 800 mile.
Damn, you can run, shit. So when you line up, right, it's like, okay, who do you guys play against? LMU, West Coast Conference. Pepperdine, Portland State. Who's the rival for LMU? Pepperdine, okay. There's no way in hell these Pepperdine assholes are gonna come in here and run faster than me, right? There's no way in the world, right? There's no way in the world, because I'm Preston and I work hard and I've been busting my ass all week preparing for this, right? And I'm confident and I've been killing throughout my whole life for this one moment. And I'm about to whoop the shit out of this person as soon as they line up.
Sounds a lot like me.
Exactly. But see, that's why you're so good at what you do, because of that ego, because of that confidence. And nobody should ever be able to take that away from you. Nobody should ever be able to take that away from you. Colorado got their ass whooped this past weekend, right? But Deion Sanders still has that ego up high because he's confident in how he can coach and he's confident in how he can recruit. And other people, they see it as like, oh, that's bullshit, he's just talking. But that's why Deion is in the position that he's in. That's why he's one of the greatest football players ever. That's why he went to a school and they said, look, we're gonna give you $28 million. We don't have it right now, but we're gonna get it for you. We're gonna get it for you because your confidence, your ego is that high that we want you that bad. So we're gonna do whatever we gotta do to find you that 28. We got 24 right now. We're gonna try and get 4 more for you, but we want you that bad. right? And that ego and that confidence is going to be the reason why you, and why Dion is going to start to see success. It might come sooner than others. It might not come as fast as you want it, but keep your foot on the gas, all right? That's my time. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I appreciate you guys, all right?
Thank you.
Of course.
So look, let's thank him one more time, real quick.
Appreciate it.
I just want to touch on some things real quick. I like to, as you know, the educator in me. The person who talks for 6 hours, like you said. It's already on. The person who talks for 6 hours and is long-winded, that's me, right? But the educator in me wants to understand that this is resonating, right? So I want to ask the question, what's something that somebody heard that they had not thought about prior to walking in here before? Something that you heard that felt new, that felt fresh? Yeah.
I'd say I heard a lot that talked about like balance,
Okay.
having balance in life, having balance in your sport,
Yeah.
understanding how to kind of take a step back and say, okay, like, how am I going to plan out my life in a way that I want it to be instead of in a way that others perceive it to be.
For sure.
Honestly, for me, it was hearing everyone kind of that thinks the same way I think about the
Mm.
planning and like how they don't know. I feel like that's crazy because everyone's the same.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt really good for me here. Like, even when there's uncertainty, just don't take your foot off the gas.
That's real. What's something that you heard that you can't wait to go put somebody else on game to? Like, it's like you're not about to gatekeep this information. You're not going to do that. It hit and it resonated to the point that you have to go tell somebody. Press.
Too much success and resources for you to fail.
Say that again.
Too much success and resources for you to fail.
That's real. Who you gonna tell that to?
I kind of heard the same thing, the same message from you last year. I went back home to my friends. I was like, damn, that really does hit. Like, it is true.
Yeah. Right. I haven't heard from you yet.
I think something that really resonated with me was how he spoke about thinking about your ego and how it doesn't always have to have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And you can use it actually as an asset to give yourself more confidence, to help other people have more confidence, and to use it to your advantage in whatever sport you play.
That's real. All right, so look, now I want to give you guys some quick takeaways that I felt. You don't have to have these same takeaways, but either write them down in your phone, on a paper, or whatever. I'm sitting here learning myself from Kevin. I appreciate you showing up, bro. And just real quick, like, when I called him, he was the first person out of all the guest speakers that you've already heard from and you're about to hear from, he was my first call. I remember exactly where I was. I was on La Tijera between La Cienega and Manchester en route to work. I was feeling good that morning. I just was feeling hype. I'm a voice noter for those who know me. And so I was about to send him a voice note and I was like, no, I need to call him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm calling him, I'm giving him my whole spiel. And I don't know, maybe 10 minutes into my spiel, he's like, B, hey, I'm gonna do it. What's up, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so like, but like that's to the point that like I needed you. We needed you. I knew we needed you. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you showing up, bro. Just want to share some things. You said you went from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in the ocean. And I want to challenge your perspective, bro. And I think that you actually went from a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in the ocean to then the orca in an ocean, bro. How many people who made it to that NFL level are doing what you're doing, have done what you're doing? Right? So I want you all to hear that and think that too. We get it. We appreciate the humility. But what he's doing is incredible. He didn't even get into his bag at all of like literally how he's, bro, what are you doing in this moment?
I was interviewing Yara Shahidi from the show Blackish in front of about 600 minority students in the Bay, talking to them about diversity and inclusion and how they can fight through negative stereotypes and connotations.
My God. That's what we on. Another thing you said, quote, this is basically you were saying, this is what you're faced with. How are you now going to make something of it? And that really reminded me of something that Hannah Gordon said last week when she said, get comfortable with the fact that you will have to make adjustments. That's real. That's just reality. You all do it every single day. You have to make adjustments. You have to pivot, right? Let's make sure that when we pivot, we're pivoting onward towards our goal, towards our aspirations, towards what we're trying to get at. You also spoke to you said one way to feel good about transitioning is bringing the value learned and gained from the previous experiences. I think that's so true. And there's this thing called athlete identity foreclosure. It's not just athlete identity foreclosure, it's really just identity foreclosure, but as it pertains to athletes, right? So as he's talking about maybe transitioning on from your sport, maybe, right? This could be the last hoorah, this could be the last whatever, right? It's hard to shed that layer of skin that we've known for the last 15, 16, 18 years of our life. And he's giving you the keys he's giving you the game right now. You don't have to shed it completely. What are those values? What are the things that you learned and gained that you can bring forth with you into these subsequent opportunities and experiences where it doesn't feel like you're just eliminating a whole part of your identity cold turkey? Cool, you may not be lacing them up and competing and, right? This season might look a little different, right? But there's still aspects of that you can still tap into, right, Maddie? Last thing I want to say is that the end of the video, it was like the very end, it kind of cut a little abruptly when he was on the podcast. You spoke to essentially that professors they know that you play football. Your teachers, your professors, whoever, they know that you do your sport, right? They know that. It's up to you to show people who else you are. It's up to you. I mean, cool, I could learn a story about one of you and I could think it's dope and I could do everything I can to try to advocate for it, put it on a platform, and I don't just mean me and my colleagues, my staff. It's up to you to show these different layers of who you are. So how can you, through what we're learning from Kevin and Hannah and Dr. Ty and all these other speakers, how can you start leaning into who you are and like really trying to like excavate these different skills and experiences and ideas and interests of who you are and who you want to be, and then out loud live that to people. So that the moment I had a mentor one time tell me, well, he said it at a panel discussion that I was in, he's looking me dead in my eye. He said it to me. You know what I'm saying? He said, it's important to share your goals and aspirations with people who you trust, right? It's important to say it out loud because the moment they hear about it, now they can do something about it and help you. You just said it. Talk to people and professionals who are doing what you want to get into, right? So anyway, like that's just a handful of just an hour's worth of game that Kevin just shared with us. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for you all paying attention, being locked in, being curious, asking questions, etc. And just I also want you guys to realize that like a big part of networking, a big part of professional development is showing up for people. Like he was in the Bay today, just like Hannah, just like Dr. Ty. These people pulled up for you all. It was with my request, sure, but he understood. Like if I just was like, hey, Kev, come down to LA, he'd be like, all right, let me see you in a few weeks or a couple months, right? He showed up for you all. So again, if we could just turn around one more time and just give them the love that we really feel from them. Appreciate you. What we want to do now is take another group picture against this wall over here.